just tell the truth and trust in the American people that over time they're going to know what the truth is.
Yes, it is time for the truth. Right here, right now. This is the Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives. With your host, John Matthews.
The latter-day prophet. Baying against the hypocrisies of our time.
And Joe Hakos.
You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
The Conservative Syndicate is comprised of some of the most informed pundits and activists available today. Together, we seek to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state through education, information, and engagement on the religion of politics and the politics of religion. And now, your host on the globally syndicated Conservative Syndicate, John Matthews and Joe Hakos.
And how are we doing tonight all across this great land of ours and around the world? It is again that time for the Conservative Syndicate coming to you live right now, coast to coast and around the world. I'm your host, John Matthews, man, prophet of the airways, along with my co-host, Joe Hakos from Dry Air Report. Here at the Conservative Syndicate, we seek to educate, inform, and engage you, our listening audience, on the conservative gospel and the lameness of the leftist agenda. Glad to have you with us today. How are you doing tonight, Joe?
I am not being lame, and I can only tell you this, that this show has not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This show is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease unless you have liberalism.
Which is terminal anyway. Okay. Actually,
yeah, I mean, we can only do so much with what we have.
Yeah. Well, actually, I'm a believer in miracles. I believe in miracles, and I don't, as a little bit of my theology thinking here. As a Christian, I'm not necessarily one who walks around asking God to make sure that I get my share of miracles. I'm just saying that, as is the case in the church today, there are a lot of people who spend all their time either, hey, God, give me some more blessing, give me some more stuff, or, hey, I'm sick, give me a miracle, okay? Now, I'm not saying that God doesn't do any of that stuff. I'm just saying I'm not one of those people that go around asking that all the time. That said, we had kind of a miracle today in the fact that we had over 40 Democrats actually join with Republicans and vote in a bill to stop the Syrian refugee intake here in the United States. And I just, lo and behold, not only did we have enough Democrats to pass the bill, at least in the House, we had enough Democrats to provide a veto-proof majority. So,
well, that's if it comes back down from up on Obama Hill and they can override the veto. Just because they did it this time, I don't trust those guys.
Well, I'm just saying, how long has it been since we've seen anything even close to that?
Really, it had to come down to, hey, letting these terrorists in or suspected terrorists in and making America unsafe, or follow Obama. Well, where have they been all along? Actually, when have they really cared about what happened to America? Now all of a sudden they care. Maybe it's because maybe their children might be involved. I don't know. It makes me wonder sometimes just where they get their back and where they get their backbone from, or any of their motivation. Where does it come from? Do you tell me that the unions and the Chamber of Commerce are all behind us? We should stay away from these immigrants. These refugees. I'm sorry. This invasion.
Well, I happen to believe that maybe what happens once in a while is Nancy Pelosi walks around the chambers and gives everybody their cojones back for the day and says, okay, we're going to let you remember what it was like to be a man, remember what it was like to have backbone and take a stand for principle. Yeah, we're going to let you do that today. Today is Stand for Principle Day. And tomorrow we'll pass the jar around and you can put your cojones back in the jar and we'll resume business as usual. That's kind of like what I envision to some degree. But then again, my imagination gets kind of warped on this stuff. On the other side, one of my little things that I saw today that confirmed what I was actually thinking before. You know how much we talked about Mia Love, what a great addition she was going to be to the House. Tea Party, hardcore,
Yes, disappointingly, yes, I do recall.
Yeah, she came out today and endorsed Marco Rubio for president.
Establishment.
So we now officially know that this woman was nothing like she said she was.
She is one of the Borg, the establishment Borg.
Yeah. So
Next generation fans.
Yeah. So no longer a pass with me. I was trying to give her the benefit of the doubt. And I'll be honest, I was trying to give her the benefit of the doubt because she represents black conservatism. But as we know, black conservatism, we've been schooled on that on this show, and we know that black conservatism doesn't necessarily have to do with ideology. It has to do with history. So I guess knowing that now, I can kind of put two and two together and see Mia Love is yet another one who went into the House under the Tea Party banner and fooled us all. So,
yeah, kind of similar to the person she just endorsed.
Yeah, very, very much so. Talk a mean game and do nothing, okay?
Well, not just do nothing, but do against what you were sent there to do.
Yeah.
They did nothing, it would be one thing, John. But they go there and they go the exact opposite of what they said they were going to do. Yeah. So that's the problem.
I cut her slack when she voted for Boehner. When she got in the House, it was like, she was in there a month? And I'm like, okay, go along with the crowd. I understand. You're the new kid on the block. We'll cut you some slack. Not anymore. Not anymore. She's been there long enough to know what's going on. She knows where all the restrooms are at. She knows how the procedure works. So you still come out and endorse somebody like Marco Rubio. You should have just come out and endorsed Jeb ! Bush.
Yeah, there you go. That well, because exclamation point is really just kind of withering away on the vine. So now she's going with the more suitable establishment candidate in her mind, the one that's more feasible. That's quite all right. You go right. Now she knows when Taco Friday is at the congressional lunch counter, so she knows exactly how to play the game now.
Yeah, so we had the miracle on 166th Avenue today. Democrats side with the Republicans, and I don't know. Is the House of Representatives on the same street as Pennsylvania Avenue?
Who cares? It's in the same bubble, and that's the problem.
Okay. It's like located outside the outhouse behind the Washington Monument. I don't know.
It doesn't really matter because
I was trying to make that analogy since it's a holiday season. I was trying to make some kind of analogy like Miracle on 42nd Street, but
having holidays.
Yeah, I said because it's a holiday season. Okay, I'm not. That's inclusive. Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's. Okay, so right now it's holiday season. After Thanksgiving, everything becomes Christian orientated in my mind. Right now it's 3 holidays, so it's kind of like the holiday season. I always looked at the holiday season is my best time, my favorite time of the year, because when I was actually working, that meant a lot of vacation. 4 days off for Thanksgiving, a week, 2 weeks off for Christmas. Yeah, it was great. My boss would travel down he goes down to his timeshare down on Puerto Vallarta. So we shut the shop down for a month. Yeah, I can deal with that,
But then you work your butt off the rest of the year. So, hey, sometimes it's just what you have to do. You have to give yourself a little time.
Yeah.
But enjoy Christmas.
Yeah. So, we're preparing for holiday Thanksgiving next week. We're finally, for the first time in a long time, have all the kids out here in California together in one place, the ones that live out here. And then right after that, we kick into effect. My oldest son came over today. He's out putting up the Christmas decorations right now. So that's his job every year. This guy's good. I tell him, you need to get a job doing this stuff. He took us to one of the house he lives in. He shares a house with some other people. And he decorated the entire house today, I guess over the weekend or whatever, Christmas stuff. And you walk into this thing, and I swear you think you were in the middle of Macy's back in 1945, man. It was like he's got evergreens all over the place, and he's got all these different, not just Christmas lights, but all different styles of Christmas lights. He's got these, they look like little icicles, and they light up and flash and stuff. I mean, just awesome stuff. He put a Christmas tree out in the front yard, and they got one of those old model wells. Some people used to use it. They put it looks like a well, and they put it out in the front yard as an ornament.
It's a thing that Timmy used to fall down in the Lassie show.
Yeah, and he dressed it all up, and it looks like a little Christmas thing. It's beautiful. He's really good at this stuff. And in fact, right now he's out hanging curtains. He came over today. He said, "You know what? I don't like these curtains." So he went down and got some more. Hey, this is what I'm going to do. Okay, fine. Hey, while you're at it, paint the house. Huh? Anyway, anyway, we got to go to commercial here. We'll get back. When we get back, we'll tell you what we're going to do today. I got a couple things on my mind here, and we'll tell you when we get back. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. Then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-790-5960. That's 1-800-790-5960. Again, 1-800-790-5960. Call now.
Prices are for base buildings only. May not be available in some areas. Attention business owners, do you want a stimulus package that really works? Before you spend thousands of dollars more than you should on your next building project, listen to this. General Steel has a stimulus package designed to help you save as much as half the cost of conventional construction on your next building. As much as half. That's right. General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How about a 50 by 100 foot building for under $30,000? So don't pay thousands more than you should without calling General Steel first and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. With the projected demand for steel in Japan and China, prices may be skyrocketing.
877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. 877-927-3360.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment, and credit qualification require cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing, and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99. Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. That's 1-800-600-1645. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
This holiday season, help Soldiers for Stockings improve the morale and welfare of members of our armed forces deployed overseas. Now through November 20th, there is so much work to be done, and you can help in many ways. Download the stocking pattern from stockingsforsoldiers.org and start sewing today. Volunteer to help decorate and assemble stockings. Donate Christmas candies, snacks, nuts, chips, drink mixes, DVDs, books, magazines, lip balm, toiletries, and other items needed to fill the stockings. Or help make packets of snowman soup, hot chocolate, to send along with the stockings. For more information, patterns, and a list of items needed, visit stockingsforsoldiers.org. This holiday season, help send our troops a touch of home. For many, it's all they will receive. All stockings need to be completed by November 20th. So get started today at stockingsforsoldiers.org. That's stockingsforsoldiers.org. Stockings for Soldiers. Sending stockings filled with joy to our soldiers in harm's way for the 9th consecutive year.
And we're back, and you are listening to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with my co-host, Joe Hakos, doing what we do best, and that is spreading the conservative gospel. I want to open up a show today. I guess, well, before we do that, I'll let you know that we'll have Karen Siegemund from Rage Against the Media with us the second hour, and we'll see what's hot on her plate when she comes on. As our dialogue progresses tonight, we just never really know where we're going to end up when our contributors come on. Sometimes we'll include them into the conversation. Sometimes we'll let them tell us what they're thinking about. So we'll see what happens. But opening up today, one of the things that is just, I think one of the things about being a liberal, one of the things that has to be great about being a liberal is that you can say anything and define it to mean whatever you want. That's got to be, I think, they say ignorance is bliss. And so there must be a lot of really happy liberals walking around the face of the earth these days who just say whatever they want to say and define it any way they want to. Whether it be their sexual or racial identity, they can be whatever they want to be. Whether it be their self-perceived reason and compassion, they define that within whatever terms they determine those things are used or employed. And even their ability to have all the answers to everything that's wrong in the world in spite of all the evidence that points otherwise. One of those issues is socialism. And one of the biggest arguments to contemporary socialists is that socialism is a great way of doing things. It's just you got to have the right person do it. You got to relinquish your freedom to the right person or persons in order to be able to make socialism work. And we just haven't done that yet, with the exception of Barack Obama. Okay? Well, one of the things I've been chiding Bernie Sanders on is that we are yet to get what I would refer to as a textbook definition of what democratic socialism is.
Till today.
He tried to do it the other day. He tried to do it in his first debate with Hillary. I think it went something like, democratic socialism is like what they have in Denmark. Okay? I think that was the closest we came at that point. That's kind of like the old joke about Sarah Palin being able to see Russia from her porch. It's that kind of explanation. Well, it's when everybody gets what they want. Okay? Oh, yeah, okay, that's what that means. And but we never have yet to get a real textbook definition. Well, one of the ways Sanders keeps presenting this, he gave a speech at Georgetown University today, which I'm surprised they let him in there because he was white. That's usually one of Barack Obama's main stopping points when he's out campaigning for whatever it is he's trying to sell the American people. And he tries again today to express what democratic socialism is. Okay? So he did it once again. He came out, he says, let's see, I'm looking at the article that I pulled up today. American socialism is a vision that we have not yet achieved, and it is time that we did. Okay? That's the definition of democratic socialism. It's real freedom, including economic security. That was Roosevelt's vision 70 years ago. So, economic security. And we haven't achieved that yet, and it's time that we did. That's the closest thing we come to a textbook definition from Bernie Sanders as to what democratic socialism is. Now, he goes on to say that health care should be a right of all people, not a privilege. And that's not a radical idea. Okay? Well, it's not radical if you're a socialist. And he also says he chose Roosevelt as his icon. He uses the phrase, or refers to Roosevelt as a democratic icon. And I guess the idea being, I'm trying to find something here that Sanders said Roosevelt was responsible for much of the social safety net enjoyed by millions of Americans today, from Social Security, the federal minimum wage, unemployment insurance, the abolishing of child care, 40-hour work week, collective bargaining, and strong banking regulations. Now, all those things were implemented by government. We know that. We understand that.
So they can't be a right.
Yeah. And so, but the funny part is, He says almost everything he proposed, almost every program, every idea introduced was called socialist. But he said, meaning Roosevelt, the federal government's role in providing economic security for Americans had become the fabric of our nation and the foundation of the middle class. So the claim is that everything Roosevelt did is what has led to the stability of America's middle class. Now, here we go. His closing lines. So the next time that you hear me attacked as a socialist, like tomorrow, remember this. I don't believe government should take over the grocery store down the street or own the means of production, but I do believe that the middle class and working families of this country who produce the wealth of this country deserve a decent standard of living. Now, how do you reconcile those two statements?
Hold on, deserve a standard of living and that their income should go up, not down.
Well,
that's the complete quote. I was just wanting to make sure you got that.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Now, here's where it always gets murky. He just cited everything that the government did as the reason or the foundation of what he deems made the middle class what it is today, and turns right around and says, I don't believe the government should take over the grocery store down the street or own the means of production. But I do believe the middle class and working families of this country who produce the wealth of this country deserve a decent standard of living. Okay, how do you do that if the government how does the government control everything and not control anything? See, this is the conflicting idealism here, is that, well, the government's not really involved in everything, although they are involved in everything. They're the ones that have established the IRS. They're the ones that established Social Security. They're the ones that created unemployment insurance. They're the ones that have created all these entitlement programs that have allowed the middle class to become the middle class. But yet the government doesn't really want to control anything.
Yeah, sure it doesn't.
Yeah. So if that's the case, maybe then what we should I would buy into that thought if it was like this. You can contribute to Social Security whatever you want. You can pay whatever taxes you want with the IRS. You can do whatever you want with your money to whatever degree you want to do to support and be a part of government programs. But when the government comes out and says, you must pay this, and you must contribute to this, and you must file this, how is that not control? So it just feeds this thought that we know to be true, that progressivism and liberalism, whatever brand you adhere to or like or oppose, whether it be Marxism, socialism, communism, any version or any combination thereof, if you adhere to any of those ideologies and you think that that is the key to making the middle class, then you have a real problem with contradiction in terms here. Either we are allowed to control, if he's saying the middle class creates all the wealth, and then we should be able to determine what to do with that wealth, not the government telling us where our wealth has to go to ensure that at some point in time when we're no longer productive to society, that we're going to get something back.
Yeah, well, they get to make all the rules. Here's the two things that bothered me with this.
Okay.
With Bernie Sanders. One, the first one, and the most important thing is, how exactly are you going to pay for all this, Bernie? Because nothing, your health care right that you say is a right, none of it comes for free. It's going to come out of your tax dollars. So you're going to confiscate money from your citizens to give it and use it for whatever it is you deem necessary. That's the one thing. How are you paying for it? The other thing about his speech today was, this is not a radical idea. It is a conservative idea. An idea to practice that exists in every other major country on earth. A conservative idea. You can call up, down, and down, up, and one is 9. But when you want to redefine actual words for what they actually mean, that starts to really bug the living crap out of me.
Well, that's what I said.
Socialism is not a conservative idea. Period.
Well, that's what I said. That's what I was saying at the very beginning here. Exactly. I just echo it again. The idea that as a progressive, you can call anything you want and define it by any terms you want. This was the argument with Obamacare. Oh, we're not actually proposing anything new. Richard Nixon wanted Obamacare back when he was corrupting the White House. Okay? No, I'm sorry. Richard Nixon called for a mandate. Well, I don't know if Nixon did or not. I don't remember that about him. I just remember the guy was a sociopath, a psychopath. But all that aside, it was never passed. It was never even introduced because anybody that wanted that in that day and age knew that was an impossibility to have. Now, let's take this idea of the health care. Everything's right. How if you're going to tax the middle class and then redistribute that to other people, how is that really any different than taxing the rich and redistributing that to other people? What is the factor here? What's the varying factor? Is it, well, in the ears and the mind of somebody like Bernie Sanders, is that everybody, or Barack Obama, everybody pays their fair share? Okay, but the point is, how do you build a middle class? And see that? How do I put this? Democrats, I'll turn it back over to you in just a second, Joe. Democrats never refer to the middle class anymore as the working class. That's my point, because everything is supposed to be government subsidized, and the big question here is what? Who determines how you're classified as middle class? Who determines what is acceptable standard of living? We don't do that. The government does that through their programs. The idea is this massive government equalizer, and we determine through our reasoning and our policies when you become middle class, when you become wealthy, or when you're impoverished. The government sets those standards. We don't. So how does any of this fit in within this concept of the middle class builds wealth or creates the wealth of this country, and we're going to tax it and give it to those who haven't achieved or can't achieve or won't achieve the same level of economic equality, to use their phrase, that you have. So we'll take from them and give it to you. And somehow that is going to sustain and create a middle class in which everybody's happy. Now, I'm confused, Joe. What about you?
I'm not confused, John. The middle class is just another socialist phrase brought to us by our progressive friends. That's class warfare. That's what it's intended to bring about, is class warfare. Those guys have more than you, so you should be mad at them for having more than you. And you, because you have more than those guys, should be willing to give it back to these people, other people, because you have more. And we're going to determine what is fair. And again, I say, how are you going to pay for this, Bernie? You could take 100% of these 1%ers' wealth from them, and you still don't have enough to pay for your precious utopian dream.
Well, yeah, I agree, 100%. I mean, we've seen that. We've seen people called Bill Whittle did a study once. I remember watching it, and it was like if you ended up taking all of the wealth from all of the rich and all of the capital from all of the corporations in the United States, in 1 year, we would still be short paying our expenses for the year by 1 month. In November of this month, we'd be what? We'd be having a big battle over raising the debt ceiling because we wouldn't have enough money to do that. So this whole idea, I guess the main point I'm getting at is that, one, government is determining what classifies people in whatever socioeconomic class that they're in.
Yes.
They determine who the middle class is, who the poor are, who the rich are. They determine what a decent standard of living is. And therefore, they control and regulate through regulation and taxation everything that happens in the private sector. And yet, Bernie Sanders will stand here and tell us it's not about the government running everything. It's about the right of everybody to have the same amount of stuff.
And I'm going to say what is fair and not fair because I'm Big Uncle Bernie, and I'm just the guy to do it.
That's right. And then again, I have redefined compassion to mean what I deem to be compassion. and hell, you know, whether somebody feels that they've accomplished anything in their life is irrelevant. Whether you've had to work where you can appreciate having to work for a living, that's irrelevant. We're just here to make you happy. We're here to give you your economic fix.
And the 20-some-year-olds waited in line in the rain, in the weather, to hear this Pied Piper of doom.
Yeah. Well, that's what you get. You deserve what you get. You come out of college today owing $100,000 on a loan so you can go out and work for some corporation that is under the thumb of the government. So be it. You deserve it. We got to go to break. When we come back, we'll continue right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
This holiday season, help Soldiers for Stockings improve the morale and welfare of members of our armed forces deployed overseas. Now through November 20th, there is so much work to be done, and you can help in many ways. Download the stocking pattern from stockingsforsoldiers.org and start sewing today. Volunteer to help decorate and assemble stockings. Donate Christmas candies, snacks, nuts, chips, drink mixes, DVDs, books, magazines, lip balm, toiletries, and other items needed to fill the stockings. Or help make packets of snowman soup, hot chocolate, to send along with the stockings. For more information, patterns, and a list of items needed, visit stockingsforsoldiers.org. This holiday season, help send our troops a touch of home. For many, it's all they will receive. All stockings need to be completed by November 20th. So get started today at stockingsforsoldiers.org. That's stockingsforsoldiers.org. Stockings for Soldiers, sending stockings filled with joy to our soldiers in harm's way for the 9th consecutive year.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
Attention taxpayers. If you've received a notice from the IRS or state, do not ignore it. It's also a big mistake to try and handle your tax problem on your own. If you owe back taxes, it's a fact that the government has the power to take everything you own, including your home, business, wages, savings, and your freedom. But here's the good news. There's a special toll-free tax hotline set up especially for you. This tax hotline will tell you about new programs that are geared to help you dramatically settle, reduce, or eliminate what you owe. But you have to call now. Take down this number or put it in your cell phone. But call 866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959. When you call, you get free information on how you can reduce or eliminate back taxes, including penalties and interest. You can also be helped if you have unfiled returns, a tax lien, wage garnishment, bank levy, or if you've been entered into a payment plan but can't make the payments. Don't make the big mistake in thinking you can ignore or handle your tax problem on your own. You can stop the collection process immediately. Call this special tax hotline today for free info at 1-866-761-0959. That's 1-866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing and other restrictions apply. Since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish and get the best deal in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call Go Dish to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. Less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
And we're back, and you are listening to the Conservative Syndicate, Real Conservative Talk from Real Conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with my co-host, Joe Hakos from Droid Report, where we were just talking before the break here about just how blissful it must be to be a liberal, in the fact that you can just redefine. In fact, you don't have to define anything. You just, this is the way I feel, and that in and of itself becomes the foundation of all reasoning. And we were giving the example here with Bernie Sanders here, who really has not, and I don't believe can, give us a textbook definition as to how democratic socialism works. You can say it is whatever it is. Oh, it's like they do in Denver, and it's like when everybody has free health care, and it's like when everybody has a good standard of living. That's what it is. No explanation as to how this is carried out. We know the government doesn't do it, but yet the government does do it.
Oh, my.
Okay.
You know, John, I swear Bernie Sanders went out on the street corner, found an old set of encyclopedias, turned to the year 1944, and he just made a speech about whatever it is FDR was trying to ram down the people's throats then. I mean, just for crying out loud. He's going up here, he's going, it's time to achieve the vision for the second Bill of Rights that Roosevelt highlighted in 1944 in his State of the Union address. The idea links economic security to the concept of free. It's a vision that has not been yet achieved. It's time that we did. Oh, my, it's just ridiculous to listen to this. Bernie Sanders wants to have health care as a right, free college tuition, and jobs.
Yeah,
with a living wage, and here's what really caught my eye: public funding of elections. What could go wrong there?
Public funded what?
Public funding for elections.
Oh, oh my goodness!
Yeah, tell me about it. I mean, really?
Well, let me see if
I'm in charge of the government, and guess what? I'm going to pay for the election. Guess who wins?
But the government doesn't have any control over this. The government isn't the one dictating anything. Let's put a couple of these things in place here. I mean, in context. Let's take the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service. Okay, the Internal Revenue Service was created in 1911, I believe. Okay, up until that time, well, let's take it back to the Constitution. The Constitution states that states can determine how much and if they pay federal income tax. That's the way it was established in the Constitution. There was no mandate for taxes. It was like, okay, states can determine what income tax to pay and whether they even want to pay income tax. Now, after the Civil War, Lincoln implemented during the Civil War, towards the end of the Civil War, the collection of taxes. And basically it was to rebuild the infrastructure that had been destroyed by the Civil War. Industries had been wiped out. I mean, the country economically was in a bad place because everything had been destroyed by one side or the other. And it was stated at that time that the taxes collected were to be temporary. It was to be temporary until such time as we were able to rebuild the infrastructure of the country. Along comes 1911, and the government realizes, hey, we've got a cash cow here in our citizens. And so the Internal Revenue is created, and now mandates come down. This is what you have to do. This is what you have to pay. This is how it all works. So there's the best demonstration, the best example I can give you as to the country managed to make it from 1776, when they declared independence, to 1911 without Internal Revenue Service, and from 1776 to 1860 without mandated taxes. And now all of a sudden we can't live without them. Why is that? Because the IRS, the money coming into the IRS, has been used basically as campaign funds. If you think about it, every entitlement program is created for what? To pander to a demographic of one sort or another in order to maintain power. Am I right, Joe?
a class of people. And let's just get this right. The 16th Amendment, which gave us the IRS, was passed by Congress in 1909 and was ratified by the states in 1913.
Okay. Well, I knew it was around that time frame.
So it's been around for long enough to really hurt us really bad and be used, as the Barack Obama administration wanted to use it. And Nixon tried to do the same thing, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, this type of thinking is not just exclusive to progressives. It's just they have made it their mainstay. It's their staple. This idea that the government can bring about socio-economic equality. That's the issue. Now, I want to take one other.
But yes, you were right. We've lived a long time prior to this without an income tax like that. And then after the Civil War, to pay down the war debt and everything that was obtained and rebuild the country, it was there. And 10 years later, it was then repealed. And no longer did we have an income tax. 1872?
Yeah, it was. I know. It was around that time. It was in the mid 1870s.
Yes, it was 1872. It was 10 years later. It was repealed, and then we picked it back up again. In that great era of progressivism and enlightenment of the early 1900s, the early 20th century. Yes, we had Teddy Roosevelt and Woodrow Wilson and his ilk there.
Right.
So we must progress.
And another point to make here is that we did not have a central banking system. The Federal Reserve did not exist until Woodrow Wilson. Now, we had it before. I think that was one of the big debates at the founding of the country. Hamilton and Washington wanted a central banking system. Jefferson and Adams did not, and it was a constant battle. I think they even set it up for a while, and then it was repealed. Somebody pulled it. I don't know if it was Jefferson or maybe John Quincy Adams, and they disestablished
we had the central bank, and then we got rid of it, and then we had this Federal Reserve System implemented and founded in December of 1913.
Right. Now, here's another one. He's quoting or he's touting Roosevelt's policies.
Yes.
Let's look at Social Security. Social Security was established by Franklin Roosevelt. It was established after World War II because, again, we were rebuilding the economy. And the idea was that people had no income. People had no source of retirement. There was nothing because the war had expended all that. We'd come out of the Depression. We had all these things that had happened from a depression into a war. Economically, we were not in a great position. Now, after World War II, we were in a much better position economically because...
Now, John, now the Social Security Act was enacted in 1935, well before World War II.
Okay, and it was enacted in response to the Depression, that everything had been wiped out. Okay, yes, and the idea was to begin to build some type of funds for people for retirement and to be able to put money back into the banks. Okay, so we could start building credit again. So we could start, banks could start functioning. They would have capital to give loans and stuff like that. My point being, when Franklin established Social Security, he said at the outset that it was supposed to be temporary. That eventually what it should lead to is individual retirement accounts. My goodness.
Oh, that's evil.
So Franklin was saying, the Social Security was supposed to kickstart the idea of retirement savings, but they were supposed to evolve into the IRAs that we have today. The government keeps trying to take away from us.
Yep.
So, and you say, well, they're not trying to take. Yes, they are, because they keep changing the regulations. They keep changing the taxation rules, everything else, because they don't want you to be able to gain any type of benefit where you're not paying taxes on it. You're either putting after-taxed money or you're putting before-tax money. Someplace along the line, you're going to have to pay taxes anyways. But the point being is that Franklin established Social Security as a temporary measure of rebuilding the economy, at which time, at some point in time, it was supposed to be done away with. And it was supposed to evolve into people being able to establish their own retirement accounts and contribute to it. Well, once again, the government found a cash cow. And so that concept disappeared. And then we go into the 60s, and where Lyndon Johnson wants to take a little bit further. Hey, let's get Medicaid and Medicare going. And I think it was under the Kennedy administration. That's when food stamps began. So it was like all this money that was going into Social Security was now being borrowed for other things. And if you look into Social Security today, you look in the lockbox that everybody brags about, you'll find nothing but pieces of paper and it says, we owe you money.
A lockbox that no longer exists.
So this socialistic utopia that Bernie Sanders is touting as the vision and dream of Franklin Roosevelt is nothing of the sort. Now, Franklin Roosevelt certainly was a progressive, but he wasn't into this idea that the government was supposed to, in some day and age, it was supposed to take over all of the economics of this country, whether it be public or private sector, and run it and determine who gets what. That was not it. His 2 chickens in a car in every garage and 2 chickens in every pot was not government subsidized. That was not the concept. That was not the thought behind what Franklin Roosevelt did. It was to reestablish the private sector and the free market to be able to function once again so that everybody had opportunity, not entitlement to wealth. So that's where we're at here. We got to go to a break. When we come back, we'll continue right here at the Conservative Syndicate. This is a good conversation today. I didn't expect this to happen. We'll be right back.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Term life insurance. It can be a powerful way to protect your assets and your family. You work hard to earn and save your money to build a nest egg for the future. Don't let it get wiped out because you didn't plan ahead. Take the time now and make a small investment in $500,000 or more in quality term life insurance. Call the Term Lifeline and let us shop the best companies to give you the lowest rates. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. Ask about some of our 10 and 20-year fixed rate plans with guaranteed rates. Call the Term Lifeline right now for your free insurance quote. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609. You owe it to yourself to protect your family and your assets. Make term life insurance part of that plan. Call the Term Lifeline right now. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Hey, we're back. And you're listening to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with my co-host, Joe Hakos from Dry Report. We've been talking about Bernie Sanders' definition of democratic socialism, which I'm still waiting for. Yes. But at least we got some kind of idea what he's talking about. It's kind of like Denmark or Sweden, and it means economic freedom for everybody and a decent standard of living for everybody, but it's not government run or government regulated, but the government ensures that everybody gets it. Okay, I guess that's the essence of his definition.
Sounds like doublespeak to me.
Yeah, well, that's everything that's liberal is doublespeak, because the average liberal today would hear that and go, "Well, it sounds good to me." You know, how wise? Yeah, we have a right to that. We have a right to that.
Yeah, exactly. Have we ever tried that before? Well, maybe we did, and we said no.
Now, let's just take it just a little bit further here. I was actually going to end the topic, but something hit me here. Uh-oh. Let's talk about his rival right now in the campaign, Hillary Clinton. Now, Hillary Clinton does her own doublespeak. She tries to tell us that everybody's entitled just like Bernie Sanders does. And she tries to tell us that it's all about economic equality and racial equality and gender equality and everything else. And in her mind, the government doesn't have anything to do with that either, except that the government regulates Wall Street. That's kind of her thing. We'll regulate the banks. We'll regulate the money sources rather than the businesses. We'll go in and tell the banks what they can do. And, oh, by the way, if you want me to tell you something good, give me some money for my campaign.
No, don't give it to me, my campaign. Give it to my foundation, and we'll money launder it, and so I'll be able to do it that way.
So Bernie Sanders' idea is that the people will determine what corporations can do, and the government, the people will tell the government what to do, and the government will do it. That's the concept. That's not the way it would actually play out, but that's the concept. You tell us what you want, and we'll make sure it happens. Hillary Clinton's more like, no, you're too dumb to know what you want. We know what you need, okay? And we need to make sure that the banks do what we want them to do, the way we want them to do it. And the way that happens is dependent on how much money they dump into our campaigns. So it's either crony capitalism or it's half-assed socialism, okay? Which you got your choice there, crony capitalism or half-assed socialism. And you make your choice. Being a liberal, you could choose either one and you're going to get the same results, but at least you'll feel good.
But either way, you're not going to have any freedom or liberty to do what you really want to do. In fact, we're going to steal your liberty by taking your money from you.
Yeah.
And besides that, where did you ever get the idea that it was your money? That's the government's money to begin with. The government just allows you to keep some of their money.
Right. Well, I look at it like this. I'm just going to get just a religious, just for a nanosecond here.
Uh-oh.
One of the things that Ben Carson is being chided about is his tax plan based on the idea of tithing.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, 10%, and your first 10%, if you're a Christian and you're taught, first 10% goes into the church. But it's not going into the church. What you're doing is you're giving back to God what he's already given you. There's the key point. Everything belongs to God. And so God has set up a system called work. And if you work, you reap. You reap what you sow. Okay? So I think that's why progressives are so anti-God, because it's not reap what you sow, it's reap what somebody else has sown. So that you can feel like you've sown. Okay, you feel like you've done something. You're exhausting a lot of energy standing out on a street corner with Occupy Wall Street dissidents. You expend a lot of energy sitting on college campuses calling everybody a racist. You're expending so much energy letting the world know how unfair it has been to you that you deserve your share of what somebody else has reaped at somebody else's expense. I like the phrase that Sanders used in the very first campaign when he was asked to define socialism, democratic socialism, and he used the phrase casino capitalism, I think it was.
Yes, casino capitalism.
Okay, the idea that you went out and risked money and gambled and you hit the progressive, and that progressive is just too big for you. You shouldn't have won that much money. You took the risk, but we standing in line here should have been able to determine how much of that progressive you get to keep and how much the rest of us get because we took made the effort to stand here in line and watch. I guess that's the closest I could come to what he was talking about. If you're going to say casino capitalism, you're saying that somebody's gambling and they hit the jackpot, and you don't feel it's fair that they hit the jackpot. Because they didn't really gamble that much to begin with. You drop $1 in a machine and win $1 million progressive, that's not fair. Okay? The guy behind you that had $1 and decided he didn't want to do it, he didn't want to gamble, or he was waiting next in line or whatever, but you're the one that hit it. Therefore, you're the one now is responsible for taking care of everybody else that's in line. I couldn't define that any other way. Were you able to ever define that any other way, Joe?
Well, it's kind of like if you're in France. You don't have to go to France and hurt Frenchmen because they are kind of hurting right now. But in France, if you are an employer and all of a sudden your business goes under, you're still responsible for the health care benefits and salaries and whatever for your employees, even though your business has gone under.
Right.
So I guess it's the same kind of thing right there. I mean, it's like you're totally responsible because you hit the jackpot. You hit the casino. Yay for you. But even still, you lost.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what, John? We were talking, and we've always been talking about why do these young folk keep going to Bernie Sanders rallies and stuff? And then we kind of come across, maybe they just don't know any better. And I'm looking at this article here about Bernie's speech today. And let me get back. It's in Vice News. It's by Liz Fields, and this is I find this is kind of a little bit scary actually because it kind of debunks that a little bit. They don't know any better. This lady's talking about last month a grassroots fundraiser for Sanders in New York. A group of young supporters said they were encouraged by the candidate's rising star and impressive poll numbers, but many also acknowledged that his principles have been widely misunderstood, especially by an older generation for whom the terms socialism and political revolution hold a very different connotations. The word revolution scares my mother because she thinks of Cold War, communism, and Stalin, said Matthew Couture, a 24-year-old organizer for the grassroots group Millennials for Bernie. Bernie scares our mother's generations. It's not because that they have reviewed his policies and think they're scary. It's because of the word and the meanings in our society have connected to its dictatorships.
Yeah, see, we're right back to what my opening statement was. It's great to be a progressive because you can define anything any way you want to. Okay, socialism isn't really about socialism. That's just some word that somebody coined back during the McCarthy era to scare everybody.
Yeah, just to frighten you.
Yeah, even though in those days Russia was called the United Republic, Socialist Republic. And even that, there's an oxymoron for you, socialist republic. But the point being is, you can call it whatever you want, you know. I remember hearing George Carlin once say, you could call yourself Janowski and spell it S-M-I-T-H if you want to. You know, who can tell you that you can't pronounce S-M-I-T-H as Janowski? You know, that's today's progressive thinker. It is what I say it is. And if it isn't what I say it is, it should be. And so we'll just call it what I think it is, and then we'll ostracize and demonize anybody that disagrees with me. You know, we were talking the other day. I don't want to bring this up. You know, I'm going to mention it just for a second here because we're coming up on a break here. But we talked on Monday, I believe it was, about this new gender thing. Genderqueer? Was that the phrase? Genderqueer?
Yeah, whatever.
Okay. I'm still trying to figure out. There's a phrase out there, two phrases out there, trigender and pangender. Excuse me.
I don't know. Peter Pan?
What is a trigender?
You try to be a gender?
No, it's what it's supposed to be is somebody who overlaps between man and woman, but I don't know how they get the try in there.
Man, woman, and what? Sheep? What?
But here's the great one, pangender.
Yes.
Pangender is you're no gender. You've decided that you don't belong to any gender. Wow.
You get to decide that, actually, John. I think it's pretty much decided for you at birth.
But the idea as progressive thinkers is, hey, you know, I feel bad being a woman, or I feel bad being a man. I feel bad that my breasts aren't 36 Ds and my penis isn't 12 inches long.
Well,
okay.
I mean, that's how you figure out what you are. You just kind of pull down your zipper and...
Well, since it all has to do with sexuality, that has to be based for it, you know? And so I just don't feel masculine enough, or I just don't feel feminine enough. So I'm not going to be anything, and that makes me feel good.
Okay, well, I'm going to self-identify as a light bulb, so please plug me in and turn me on.
Okay. Anyway, it's top of the hour here. Time to go to the Edwards Notebook and pay some bills. We'll be back. Karen Siegemund from Rage Against the Media should be with us next hour. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away.
It can be pretty
pretty depressing to witness more and more Americans protesting in favor of oppression and against liberty. Hello, I'm Ron Edwards. On today's page from the Edwards Notebook, when one reads the many quotes of the Founding Fathers, it is quite apparent that they were concerned about the possibility of the United States evolving from the land of the free and home of the brave into the land of the oppressed and home of the cowardly. Neither you or I can tell how many times we've heard how, according to certain polls, that Americans support gun control, transgender bathrooms, and many other wedge issues like immigration, to allegations of racism and hating poor people. Those wedge issues have a certain prominence because people have been dumbed down to a lower level of thinking politically, morally, and economically. If Americans were properly schooled on the benefits of our Constitution and economics along with virtue, I seriously doubt that the federal government would be so bloated and working to implode our nation on behalf of the United Nations and Muslims. Properly informed or schooled Americans would not entertain the foolhardy concept that one is xenophobic because they simply want people to obey our laws and immigrate into the United States legally. Also, perhaps American voters would not have twice elected an individual who literally wants to bring tens of thousands of American-hating Muslims into our country to try to change our American culture. In order to rescue the United States from utter ruin, we must make genuine efforts to teach Christian virtue, true American history, critical thinking, and real math, etc., etc., to the up-and-coming generations. If not, the United States will simply end up
slip sliding away.
I, for one, am optimistic that America the beautiful will be great again. Our city shall once again be undimmed by human tears. She will, of course, soon reestablish a closer walk with the one who shed his grace upon her and benefit from his providential guidance. Do you believe? I'm Ron Edwards.
Blowing away the myths and revealing the truth. You can continue to blow away the myths with Ron Edwards on Facebook, Twitter, and theronedwards.com.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Prices are for base buildings only. May not be available in some areas. Attention business owners, do you want a stimulus package that really works? Before you spend thousands of dollars more than you should on your next building project, listen to this. General Steel has a stimulus package designed to help you save as much as half the cost of conventional construction on your next building. As much as half. That's right. General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How about a 50 by 100 foot building for under $30,000? So don't pay thousands more than you should without calling General Steel first and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. With the projected demand for steel in Japan and China, prices may be skyrocketing.
877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. 877-927-3360.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Hey, all you can do is just tell the truth and trust in the American people that over time they're going to know what the truth is.
Yes, it is time for the truth. Right here, right now. This is the Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives. With your host, John Matthews.
against a latter-day prophet, weighing against the hypocrisies of our time.
And Joe Akos.
You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
The Conservative Syndicate is comprised of some of the most informed pundits and activists available today. Together, we seek to tear down the imaginary wall, a separation between church and state through education, information, and engagement on the religion of politics and the politics of religion. And now, your hosts on the globally syndicated Conservative Syndicate, John Matthews and Joe Akos.
And welcome back. Hour 2 right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, prophet of the airways, on a mission from God. And that mission is to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state, along with my co-host, Joe, you can't handle the truth, Akos.
Yes, you can't handle it. I can.
So, anyway, we spent the first hour talking about the redefinition of democratic socialism or whatever phrase you choose to use. Okay, well, we'll leave it to you to determine what we're talking about. Okay, you can redefine that any way you want, too. We could actually be socialists in disguise. We're just carrying on a conversation for the hell of it, because that's what progressives do. Anyway, where do I want to go this hour? I know what I wanted to talk about.
Oh, okay.
Let's see here. This is, I mentioned at the beginning of the show, this vote by the House of Representatives today to resist Barack Obama's attempts to speed up the processing of migrants coming over here from, or refugees, or whatever phrase, victims, whatever phrase you want to tie to that, Syria. And, I've been seeing articles pop up all over the place about the number of people that they have already arrested or looking to arrest here just in the United States. I saw an article yesterday I believe it was. We've already had like 60 people from Syria arrested under suspicion of doing carrying out terrorist activities of one sort or another. And then, what was it? I believe the head of the mastermind of the Paris attacks was killed yesterday. Am I right on that, Joe?
Yeah, supposedly he was killed. I mean, another dead terrorist. Okay, great. Until they're all dead, really. Come on. Now, if you want, John, I've got a nice long post from our friend Deborah Pauly, who goes through quite a few numbers here of actual terrorists that have been arrested, detained, and sent to prison by our lovely government. Some recently, some not so recently.
Okay, well, yeah, let's do that. This is our short segment. We should be able to get that in here.
Okay, well, bear with me, because here we go. In September 2015, the Obama administration and now the former head of the Office of Refugee Resettlement for the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Edgar Neges, said that 11 million illegals in this country didn't go through a security screen, implying that the Syrian refugees didn't necessarily need to be screened either. Sorry, Mr. Nagash, last time I checked, the Mexicans and the Hispanics and Latinos are predominantly Catholic, not Muslim. So I really, I think that it's tiny bit to do with the lack of terrorism from that group. I don't recall ever hearing a Christian proclaim that he'd become victorious through terror. Have you? There are one little caveat. The illegals, they came in illegally. Hello, not through the front door like a big Trojan horse. An immigrant from Muslim-dominated Bangladesh applied for and was received U.S. citizenship, trying to incite people to travel to Somalia and conduct violent jihad against the United States. He was arrested in Texas in 2014. In July 2015, a Cuban immigrant, inspired by Islamic extremists, plotted to explode a backpack-filled bomb with nails on the beach in Key West. An immigrant from Ghana who applied for and received U.S. citizenship, they received citizenship, pledged allegiance to ISIS and plotted a terror attack on U.S. soil. He attacked an FBI agent with a large kitchen knife, and when the agent was searching his home in June in Staten Island, New York, the search was connected to an investigation stemming from the weekend arrest of Munthar Omar Sadi, a 20-year-old U.S. citizen charged with conspiring to provide material support to ISIS. That was a CNN report. An immigrant from Sudan living in Northern Virginia who applied for and received U.S. citizenship tried to join ISIS and waged jihad on its behalf after had been recruited online. He pleaded guilty in federal court in June 2015 to provide material support to ISIS, and his friend, according to court records, is now a member of ISIS fighting force in Syria. A Muslim refugee couple from Bosnia, along with their 5 relatives living in Missouri, Illinois, and New York, were charged in February 2015 with sending money and supplies and smuggling arms to ISIS and other terrorist organizations in Syria and Iraq. A Muslim immigrant from Yemen who applied for and received U.S. citizenship, along with 6 other men living in Minnesota as members of refugee families, were charged in April 2015 with conspiracy to travel to Syria to provide material support to ISIS. That's just there. I mean, we're running up. We got to go break. And we can go on and on. There's at least 10 other easily. But let's go with this here. Last thing. There have been 70 arrests in America for ISIS terror plots. Planes coming into and leaving the United States have been rerouted due to terror threats. Disney resorts recently evacuated due to a bomb threat. America currently ranks 4th among nations with pro-ISIS tweets. The FBI is watching 45 jihad terror camps throughout the United States and is monitoring hundreds of mosques. Recently, 8 men were arrested in Istanbul posing as refugees. One Paris problem from Syria and came in with the recent flood of refugees. This is how America wants to live. Is this what America wants for their children? The refugee resettlement issue is simple. Muslims should remain in the Muslim countries where assimilation is not required or much easier. Second, and most importantly, is the threat to our mainland. If you knew a bowl of candies containing 2% were poisoned, would you eat any of them? And that's exactly right. We found 8 trying to come across our border down in Laredo area, Texas, and there were 6 down in Honduras, came in with fake Greek passports, and it was just in the last night. So there you go.
Wow, that's a mouthful. But yeah, the list does go on, and will continue to go on and on. We're going to go to a break here. When we come back, we should have, I hope Karen checks in with us on time. If not, I got something here I want to share with you in light of what Joe just shared. So stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. We'll be right back.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification require cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing, and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99. Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. That's 1-800-600-1645. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
Attention taxpayers. If you've received a notice from the IRS or state, do not ignore it. It's also a big mistake to try and handle your tax problem on your own. If you owe back taxes, it's a fact that the government has the power to take everything you own, including your home, business, wages, savings, and your freedom. But here's the good news. There's a special toll-free tax hotline set up especially for you. This tax hotline will tell you about new programs that are geared to help you dramatically settle, reduce, or eliminate what you owe. But you have to call now. Take down this number or put it in your cell phone. But call 866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959. When you call, you get free information on how you can reduce or eliminate back taxes, including penalties and interest. You can also be helped if you have unfiled returns, a tax lien, wage garnishment, bank levy, or if you've been entered into a payment plan but can't make the payments. Don't make the big mistake in thinking you can ignore or handle your tax problem on your own. You can stop the collection process immediately. Call this special tax hotline today for free info at 1-866-761-0959. That's 1-866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959.
This holiday season, help Soldiers for Stockings improve the morale and welfare of members of our armed forces deployed overseas. Now through November 20th, there is so much work to be done, and you can help in many ways. Download the stocking pattern from stockingsforsoldiers.org and start sewing today. Volunteer to help decorate and assemble stockings. Donate Christmas candies, snacks, nuts, chips, drink mixes, DVDs, books, magazines, lip balm, toiletries, and other items needed to fill the stockings. Or help make packets of snowman soup, hot chocolate, to send along with the stockings. For more information, patterns, and a list of items needed, visit stockingsforsoldiers.org. This holiday season, help send our troops a touch of home. For many, it's all they will receive. All stockings need to be completed by November 20th. So get started today at stockingsforsoldiers.org. That's stockingsforsoldiers.org. Stockings for Soldiers, sending stockings filled with joy to our soldiers in harm's way for the 9th consecutive year.
And we're back. You're listening to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. We're glad you took the time to join us. And, I got to tell you, Joe, I lost my breath listening to you before the break. Did you do that all in one breath?
No, I'm recovering now, man. I'm just barely hanging on.
Anyhow, that was quite a dissertation. Was that a blog by Deborah Pauly, or was that?
It was just a post she put on her little Facebooky thingy, and so and it was very appropriate. It was like, wow, this, because basically she was saying the same things. Hey, you're telling us all going to be good. It's all we got this. What do they call extraordinary vetting process? It's like, really? These people came in, got a citizenship given to them, and then they turn around and we have to fend them off as they become ISIS sympathizers and or want to blow us up in some shape or form.
Yeah, well, we're gonna talk a little bit more about that as we evolve here over the course of the show here. Right now, we want to bring on Karen Siegemund from Rage Against the Media. I know she just had to make a mad dash come in here. I caught her 30 seconds after she came online, so I know.
Wow. I opened my computer and immediately
we're like Big Brother here. We know everything you're doing. Since they blocked me on Facebook, I have more time to pay attention to what everybody else is doing. So
What?
Oh yeah, I got blocked a few days ago from posting in groups. So, and it doesn't seem to be just me. There were some other people out there doing radio shows that said the same thing. The radio shows are being blocked. So, there it is.
Scott Matthews at Facebook jail.
Yeah, I'm in Facebook jail until November 30th. And then we were talking yesterday about the fact that people on Facebook with the name ISIS, there are actually people named ISIS out there in the world, they've been blocked. So...
Wow.
So there's this mass censorship going on right now. I guess nobody wants to talk too much about Barack Obama being the only person in the world besides Trudeau up in Canada that seems to think just bringing in Syrian refugees is no big deal because we're only talking about 3-year-old orphans and widows.
Don't be afraid.
Right. Not only is it no big deal, but it's the right thing to do. Aren't you cold and cruel and heartless for not wanting to... Right?
Yes,
right. I am. Well, one of the things I saw today, I was just mentioning, they're claiming that they killed the mastermind yesterday in Paris, the mastermind of the Paris attacks. And in the article, they had a picture of none other than this mastermind's 13-year-old son, all dressed up in jihad garb and on the whole 9 yards. And I'm looking at that, I'm going, here's exactly what we're talking about. Okay, you want to say kids and women are no threat, and this kid is dressed up ready to go to war at 13 years old, and we were talking about the videos we've seen of 7-8-year-old kids being taught how to behead sheep and stuff like that.
But, it's so effective. I haven't talked about this that much, but, I'm back teaching, and with what just happened with ISIS in France, I teach at a French school, and so it's really touched that community greatly, which has sparked a lot of conversations. So I'm able to hear what it is that these kids all know to be true, and it's exactly what you would think. But they are so completely convinced the refugees are all, women and children, and they're being discriminated against unfairly, and who are we to close our borders? And, we must just be mean, cruel, heartless people. And yet, at the exact time, they are scared.
What do you make of the
they're
vote?
Concerned.
What do you make of the vote today, Karen?
They said, we've got security guards at the school. Why aren't they armed? So you can imagine the kinds of conversations we're having in the school now.
You've got armed security guards now?
We have security guards. I won't disclose if they are or aren't armed, but the students definitely think that armed is better.
Oh, okay. I get you.
I would think so as well. I would think that would be much better than unarmed. Unarmed would be just the same as not having them there at all.
Exactly, and they've made this point. So, whenever these things happen, more people wake up. But what is revealed is their misconceptions about stuff.
Yeah, well,
we've had really some excellent conversations where I'm able to point out President Obama called this group the JV team, and contained, and just the day prior to this attack.
It's not an attack, Karen. It's a setback.
It was a setback. and according to John Kerry, a setback that might just have some rationale behind it.
Unbelievable. It really is extraordinary, but it makes me particularly grateful I'm back in the classroom.
Well, what you're telling us that the expression or what you're hearing so far is that most of the students in your school and perhaps even your fellow teachers are buying into the narrative that this is all about discriminating against poor, forlorn refugees.
Yes.
And none of them are thinking or asking any questions about the possibility of any of them being terrorists.
Yes. So it's created this cognitive dissonance in their minds, which I then take that opportunity to exploit. So another teacher and I were sitting in the faculty lounge, and she was saying she clearly feels the same way, that these aren't refugees, that they're letting in terrorists, that appeasement is what brings this on. I mean, look who's attacked. It's France. It's one of the most accommodating countries out there. It's not any country that's thrown up barriers. It's a country that has permitted no-go zones, that, all kinds of stuff has made all kinds of accommodation and appeasement. That's who's attacked. The Muslims aren't saying, "Oh, we're cool, thanks, France. This all we want is our own little space." Mm-hmm. If that were the case, they would not have attacked France. So there is this cognitive dissonance among people. We need to be nice. Why are they doing this to us? And one of the teachers said, I don't really want to say this, that, or the other thing. And I say, this is our job as educators to help our students understand the world as best they can so that they can make better decisions as citizens, as voters, as adults, whatever. But to conceal what we know to be true would be wrong. And so in my various classes, the older ones more than the younger ones, I think it's important to talk about the truth. At the very least, ask them these questions. Mm-hmm. And get them, piercing this bubble of whatever they know is true, with whatever they know to be true, they're so sure of, and they feel good about it because they're the compassionate ones, and it would be wrong not to let people in. So asking them questions about, do you know what percentage are families versus what percentage are men in their 20s? It's like 70-something%. How does that seem to you? Does that make sense? And on and on like that. So if we've got to do this, and even as I say it, even as I have those conversations with students, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, will I get an email today that I'm fired?
Yeah, I was just going to say, you got some. What's the word here?
More than Boehner had.
Yeah.
But
cojones, that's the word. That's the word I've adopted.
That's Karen, the cojones teacher. I feel that strongly, and this is why I am an educator, not just to teach whatever I teach, but I am helping young people develop who they are.
Right.
And lying by, just as Rage Against the Media, lying by omission is lying. If I know the truth, to not speak it is wrong. And if I know the truth about ISIS, about Boko Haram, about any of these things that we're talking about, if there is an opportunity, I will most certainly seize it.
Well, yeah, I was talking about my little trip up to Big Bear over the weekend. I was up at a conference, a men's ministry conference, and I see most of these people just once a year when we have this conference. I've been going up there now for about 14 years, and one of the things, it's amazing how many people that when they see me. In fact, I taught up there last year, and the first thing I said to people as I got in front of people, I said, when you see me or when you hear my name, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? And it was like this silence for a while, and I don't know why they were so hesitant, but finally somebody says, politics. And I said, yeah. I said, that's because that's who I am. And because I was given a talk on identity, about learning your identity, finding your identity as a man. And I said, that's what I am. And that's why a lot of you people avoid me, because you don't want to engage in these types of conversations. This year I went up there, I was blasted by people walking up to me going, what's going on? What's going on with this candidate? Who are we voting for this year? You know, I'm like, wow, what a change from last year. But a lot of it has to do with the fact that some of these people now are looking around going, wait a minute. Even my pastor, one of the things that changed my pastor's attitude about talking about politics in the church was he said, he came up to me about a year after Obama had been elected, and he said, everything you told me last year is true? And I go, well, yeah, why do you think I said it? Well, I just thought you were some kind of ideologue wingnut. And I'm like, no, I'm a prophet, man. Don't you know that?
Imagine if you hadn't, and this is why we have to do what we do. Imagine if we didn't. They would not know where to turn. My students would not have that narrative monopoly be broken. Imagine knowing what we know and not saying anything. Yeah. But you hit on a very important point here. We have to take control of the narrative, because that is what's happening. That's why they're winning. It's not that they're better at anything other than controlling the narrative. Yep. So that's what we have to do, and the only way we can do it is, it's like when I sit down with my grandkids and they come over here to visit me. I sit them down and I say, "This is what we're going to talk about," and I see the eyes rolling in their head. Oh my God, not again, Grandpa! We're going to talk about politics. We're going to talk. I said, "Yes, you are," because I have one granddaughter going into high school next year. I said, you're going to be surprised when you walk into that gym next time. Next time you walk into the shower stalls next year when you go to that big high school. You're going to see some things that you're not used to seeing, that your mom has been hiding from you. And I'm telling you right now, this is what's coming down the pipe. You better be ready for it, And just remember this, when I'm long gone, the things that I'm telling you now, you're going to have the opportunity as an adult to remember. You're going to remember. You're going to see things and go, I remember Grandpa told me that. That's what it's all about. Exactly. And it's shirking our duty to not do so. We have to. Whether we're deemed as obnoxious or whatever. I mean, there is a place and a time, but it really is our responsibility. It's everywhere. The time is all the time. Right. Yeah. And actually, exactly. It really is. And this is what Truth Fest was and is about. How to be those evangelists was the word that I used last year. What did you say? Tooth Fest? Truth Fest. Oh, Truth Fest. Yeah. Oh yeah. That's Tooth Fest. I thought it was a dental convention. Truth Fest is excellent. The concept and the idea that she put together on this thing is just awesome. It's kind of like you know what I was thinking of when we were at Politicon. I was like, this is what Politicon needs to be more like Truth Fest. It wasn't Truth Fest needs to be more like Politicon. It's Politicon needs to be more like Truth Fest. Yes, right. I'm starting to work on it. It'll be March of next year, by the way. Oh, yes. Just around the Super Tuesday primaries, huh? Exactly. Let's get a little of that stuff going on. Now it just seems too early. So that's what we're going to do.
Okay. All right. We got to go to a break. When we come back, what I wanted to ask you about, Karen, is I wanted to ask you about the vote that took place in the House. Believe it or not, they voted down, and they had 47 Democrats vote with the Republicans to vote down Obama's refugee policies. And and it's a veto-proof majority. So we talk about that when we come back. We have Karen Siegemund from Rage Against the Media. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hakos from Drive Report. Stay with us right here. Right now it's time for none other than Moments of Madness. We'll be right back.
Today on Moments of Madness. Recent revelations regarding the sexting scandal at a Colorado high school has set the PC police on full force alert, complete with APBs claiming those responsible for providing tools by which students can be exploited for profit need to be found and prosecuted. Investigators are saying at least 100 students at Cannon City High School in Colorado used ghost apps to share and store hundreds of nude and semi-nude pics with each other, including students as young as 13. Students involved in the case could face possible charges of possessing and distributing child pornography. Ghost apps, or hidden apps, that disguise themselves as simple things like a calculator but allow its user to open secret vaults by entering a code, allowing the user to store pictures, videos, and personal information, are becoming more and more popular among youth. So much so, the numbers being touted by applications like Snapchat is quickly approaching Facebook's nearly 8 billion views of posted visual content. But there's more for the PC police to be concerned about. Cannon City High School is not alone. Reports from schools in Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Tennessee have recently reported similar cases. In fact, it is believed that every public school across the country has some degree of sexting occurring among their student body. Here's the madness. Why in the world is anyone surprised at this? Through legislation, we now encourage our children to explore their gender identity in kindergarten, have made lawful co-ed bathrooms and showers in order to pander to self-esteem issues, glorify rappers who demean women while idolizing the likes of Beyonce and the Kardashians as role models, and even teach kids it's okay to flip the bird if it's for a good cause. We defend gang thugs who murder and wreak havoc in our streets as victims of society while remaining silent when law enforcement agents are the ones victimized by these same thugs. And even rationalize killing the unborn at a rate of 1 million a year is conducive to women's health. And we are shocked at the actions of today's kids who fraternize via their phones rather than face-to-face because such interaction might make them feel bad about themselves. But hope is on the horizon. Necessity, the mother of invention, has spawned yet another app, one that promises to solve a problem with a Band-Aid rather than a cure. An application that now allows parents to monitor their kids' cyberspace interactions is available to curtail children's exposure to sexuality at such a young age. The PC police can breathe easily once more, knowing that the same technology that exploits our children will now save them. What we need is an app that monitors parents' apathy regarding the continued glorification of promiscuity and disrespect for authority. But the PC crowd would certainly take exception to that because it would require placing responsibility and accountability where it belongs, in their own hands, absent any ghost app to hide their own sin. Wait, we have that already. It's called the Bible. By the way, they make apps for that also. This is John Matthews for Moments of Madness.
This holiday season, help Soldiers for Stockings improve the morale and welfare of members of our armed forces deployed overseas. Now through November 20th, there is so much work to be done, and you can help in many ways. Download the stocking pattern from stockingsforsoldiers.org and start sewing today. Volunteer to help decorate and assemble stockings. Donate Christmas candies, snacks, nuts, chips, drink mixes, DVDs, books, magazines, lip balm, toiletries, and other items needed to fill the stocking. Or help make packets of snowman soup, hot chocolate chocolate to send along with the stockings. For more information, patterns, and a list of items needed, visit stockingsforsoldiers.org. This holiday season, help send our troops a touch of home. For many, it's all they will receive. All stockings need to be completed by November 20th. So get started today at stockingsforsoldiers.org. That's stockingsforsoldiers.org. Stockings for Soldiers, sending stockings filled with joy to our soldiers in harm's way for the 9th consecutive year.
And we're back. You're listening to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hakos from Dryer Report, and of course, Karen Siegemund from Rage Against the Media here doing her weekly segment. And Karen, I wanted to ask you, I know you're busy these days, are battling against social engineering in your classroom.
Yes.
And I wanted to ask you, were you aware of the vote that took place today in terms of Obama's refugee rescue policies?
I was not. Tell me.
Okay, let me pull it up here. Today, 47 House Democrats voted in favor of a bill authored by Representative Mike McCall, a Republican out of Texas. The bill passed 289 to 137, giving it enough to overcome a threatened veto from President Barack Obama. The legislation bars Iraqi and Syrian refugees from being admitted to the U.S. until the FBI director and the director of national intelligence certifies to Congress that each refugee does not pose a national security threat. That's what they've done. Now, the substance of that is basically the FBI and the national director of national intelligence has to tell us that these people can come into the country. Now, whatever influence Obama has on those agencies remains to be seen. But the point being is that at least as far as a vote goes, we had a veto-proof majority today vote against Barack Obama's desire to speed up the refugee process. That's what he said the other day in Turkey.
Now, you do know that he can still veto it.
Well, he can still veto it, and if he did, then that, whether that majority would hold up or not, we don't know.
Well, it's going to make it through the Senate to begin with.
Yeah, but I guess, again, but the point I'm making here is that for the first time since Obama's been in office, we had Democrats vote with us. That's unusual.
It looks like they're just as cruel, vicious, heartless, and afraid of widows and children as we are.
Yeah, and like yesterday, Dianne Feinstein, she completely countered Obama's claim that ISIS was contained. She said, no, they're not contained. They're expanding. Coming from Feinstein.
Right. No, there's been a handful of times that she's spoken out, and foreign policy generally, specifically. But yes, wasn't that another breath of fresh air? So again, the worse it gets, the more people wake up. The question then becomes, what will come of that awakening? And hopefully that veto-proof majority will hold up should he actually veto it. And hopefully we stay smart about this. What a huge relief that is. But at the same time, didn't our State Department or Homeland Security just turn away Christian refugees who had fled Syria?
Oh, yeah. Well, because we don't have a religious test, Karen. Our president has told us that.
Yes, we don't have a religious test. And the only thing happening to those people is they're getting crucified and beheaded. So, I mean, for crying out loud, why? I mean, they don't need to come over here.
Right. Right.
Now, let me, if I can, let me offer something to you. I'm going to take you, both of you, right now, on just a little bit of a journey, and I want to get, I'll get your feedback here. What would have caused such a vote as today? What would have caused Democrats to, at least 47 of them say, well, you know what? I better really vote the right way this time instead of what the party wants me to do or what Obama wants me to do. I've got an idea here. I got a theory here, and I want to share it with you guys, get your opinion on it. We know that as of yesterday, I think Joe gave his account yesterday, 30 governors have come out and said that they will not accept refugees. Am I right, Joe?
I think it's up to 33 actually now.
Okay, 33 now. That's more than half.
And you do the math. We have 50 states children minus 33.
Yeah, we have more than half, not less than half. So if you're thinking we have 57 states, we want to correct that number.
I was just going to say, yeah.
Okay, now here's the deal. I'm gonna read to you another article here that has come up, and we're going to spend more time on this probably next week. But I want to. It will kind of underscore what I want to lay before you guys. This is an article by Chris Cizilla, and I believe it's at Huffington Post. Democrats just released a 2014 autopsy report, and there's only one sentence in it that matters. Debbie Wasserman Schultz has released the DNC strategy for the 2016 election. It's 18 pages long, and the idea, what they're talking about here, what they're addressing, is the number of seats and positions that they've lost at the state level. We were talking earlier this week and last week about the number of governorships, the number of legislation seats, the number of Senate seats, the number of House seats that the Democrats have lost since Barack Obama has been in office. So now the DNC has devised a strategy to try to overcompensate for that. See, so my first thought here is that these 33 governors that have said we're not going to accept refugees is triggered something in the Democrat Party in line with their strategy. Here's the strategy. We need to build a 3-election cycle strategy for redistricting at the state and the federal level. So what they want to do, what they feel they need to do between now and 2016 is redraw district lines that would put these seats or give them more seats to try to get back into the majority. My contention is, my theory is that the DNC platform or the strategy for 2016 might be what's driving these Democrats today. There's too many governors that are out there that said we're not going to have any part of this. And the idea is that they need to recapture to some degree some type of influence over the state government, the levels in state government, whether it be state legislatures or court seats or governors or legislators, state legislators. Having said that, I'll give you first shot at it, Karen. Did it make sense what I was saying?
That makes a ton of sense, and I'm sure you're absolutely right. And I would also add, if there are this many governors, and they do against this, and they do keep losing control at every level of governance, they're all turning red, right? More and more states have all their governance be red, not blue.
Mm-hmm. Well, they're saying here right now, as of today, 30 of the 50 state legislators are Republican controlled.
Right. So that's a lot.
That's a lot. The number of governors that we have compared to the number of governors that are Democrats lean Republican.
And even in California, a lot of our town legislation is Republican, not Democrat.
Right.
So it reaches deep into the local level. They've got to be scared. They've got to be scared. And if they listen to their constituents have to be saying, no, it's time to pay attention to us. We're looking at what's going on throughout Europe. Little Austria, these charming little Austrian towns are now completely destroyed. They're completely overrun by people who not only are so different. That's, one time that was relevant. It's not that they reject everything to do with the nation, and they are violent, and they are raping, and you'd have to be a moron or Democrat, a moron, to not see that this is exactly what we would be importing in the future. And so not moron and Democrat, I guess, aren't entirely interchangeable, because Democrats are waking up and trying to be a little bit more responsive. They're seeing what just happened in France. But the idea of the redistricting that's a really great perspective on all of this. I would never have thought of that.
Well, when I think of redistricting, the first thing that comes to my mind, we saw that out here in California. Redistricting is what allowed the Democrats to solidify their majority in the state Congress up here, in the state assembly. They were able to redistrict enough districts that even when Republicans are winning, they're just not able to win enough because the Democrat districts are completely Democratic. I mean, how else do you keep people like Maxine Waters and Henry Waxman in office? It's because their districts are so solid, leaning in their direction, that there's no way to overcome that. There's no,
so solid, and the DNC throws so much money at those districts.
Yeah. So let me leave this. I'm going to read you the last paragraph of this article, and then we'll come back from break, and I'll give Joe a shot here because I know Joe's on top of this stuff.
I'm chomping that bit.
It says here, right, the last paragraph. Nowhere in the DNC autopsy, I like the way they call that, autopsy, is it mentioned how the party plans to solve those fundamental problems. The party is planning to coordinate its efforts better, target key gubernatorial races, and the like. And that's all well and good. But the real key is to make clear to the major Democratic donors that winning over state legislators must be a major priority of the party between 2016 and 2020. If that message does not get through, Democrats will be looking at a long stay in the congressional minority. So they know, we got the Republicans playing the splitter strategy, trying to get their delegates in. Wasserman Schultz is over here saying, no, we got to fight this battle at the state level because that's where we're losing. That's why everything that Barack Obama says is so great really isn't that great. It really, because the states are taking control. They're nullifying legislation across the board here. We've got states that are out there saying, hey, we're not going to honor the Supreme Court decision on same-sex marriage. We're not going to honor it, whether you like it or not. So the states are starting to fight back to some degree. The Democrats realize that's where our battle's really at. We can keep the masses duped, but we can't keep these state legislators duped. So I'll get your comments on that, Joe, when we get back here. We got to do our commercials here, and don't go away. Be right back here at the Conservative Syndicate.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification require cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing, and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99. Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. That's 1-800-600-1645. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
Attention taxpayers. If you've received a notice from the IRS or state, do not ignore it. It's also a big mistake to try and handle your tax problem on your own. If you owe back taxes, it's a fact that the government has the power to take everything you own, including your home, business, wages, savings, and your freedom. But here's the good news. There's a special toll-free tax hotline set up especially for you. This tax hotline will tell you about new programs that are geared to help you dramatically settle, reduce, or eliminate what you owe. But you have to call now. Take down this number or put it in your cell phone. But call 866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959. When you call, you get free information on how you can reduce or eliminate back taxes, including penalties and interest. You can also be helped if you have unfiled returns, a tax lien, wage garnishment, bank levy, or if you've been entered into a payment plan but can't make the payments. Don't make the big mistake in thinking you can ignore or handle your tax problem on your own. You can stop the collection process immediately. Call this special tax hotline today for free info at 1-866-761-0959. That's 1-866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959.
This holiday season, help Soldiers for Stockings improve the morale and welfare of members of our armed forces deployed overseas. Now through November 20th, there is so much work to be done, and you can help in many ways. Download the stocking pattern from stockingsforsoldiers.org and start sewing today. Volunteer to help decorate and assemble stockings. Donate Christmas candies, snacks, nuts, chips, drink mixes, DVDs, books, magazines, lip balm, toiletries, and other items needed to fill the stockings. Or help make packets of snowman soup, hot chocolate to send along with the stockings. For more information, patterns, and a list of items needed, visit stockingsforsoldiers.org. This holiday season, help send our troops a touch of home. For many, it's all they will receive. All stockings need to be completed by November 20th. So get started today at stockingsforsoldiers.org. That's stockingsforsoldiers.org. Stockings for Soldiers, sending stockings filled with joy to our soldiers in harm's way for the 9th consecutive year.
We're back, and you're listening to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. And we want to remind everybody you can visit our website, theconservativesyndicate.net, pick up the archive of this show. If you want to listen to it again or share it, or any of our shows, you can pick up bios on all of our contributors, including Joe Hakos and Karen Siegemund right here, right now, and all the other ones that contribute to our program, theconservativesyndicate.net. All right, the closing remarks here on this article is simply that the DNC has recognized that they need to take back control of the states, and or at least do something about the massive landslide of election wins that have been happening over the past, since Obama came in office. All these losses that they've suffered has been under the Obama administration. And while we know that they keep telling us that Obama is the answer to everything, what we're seeing now is everything unraveling. One of the things we'll talk about tomorrow is Obamacare. This thing is going through already a massive implosion. The state exchanges are shutting down. They're now talking about the premiums tripling and all this other stuff. We're going to talk about that tomorrow. But I wanted to, Joe, I wanted to get your comment on this about, do you think they've recognized this a little too late?
No, John, this is to be expected. Let me get two things here. The 47 that voted along with the Republicans today with the refugee bill, one part would say, they're finally what's doing is best for Americans. The cynic in me, the political animal in me, says, they've come to finally realize that Barack Obama is a lame duck president, and so they're not going to go along with him now on this specific issue. All right, so, seriously, fine. Thank you for going along. Will you stay behind the bill when Obama vetoes it? Talking about the task force, 19-page report for the DNC's Victory Task Force. I'm not so sure. Another couple things here. When you have them in there, so we don't believe we need to change anything from a policy standpoint to win the election, said the Maria Cardona, one of the task force members, and a reporter said the elections in 2014 made it abundantly clear that the Americans overwhelmingly support the issues and values the Democratic Party fights for every day. Which is really, I don't know what world you're living in, but you got your hat handed to you just again. And talking about redistricting, oh my goodness, they're upset because the Republicans have been winning these elections, and the Republicans are redistricting. In fact, I'm in a state and in a district that's supposed to be redistricted because the Democrats took it to court, said it wasn't supposed to be drawn the way up the way it is, and they didn't like it. And like you said, John, they're in there, and what they will do is just the same thing they always do. They're mad because Republicans are doing it now, but they were doing it before, and if they get more elections won, they will do the same thing again. They will redraw these districts, gerrymander them into oblivion, and make them Democrat happy. So, it's much to do about nothing. But the statement that they say, policy-wise, they're okay.
Okay, your thoughts, Karen.
Yeah, policy-wise, they're in the toilet, right?
Yeah.
They're very clever at doing what they do. At rigging votes, at rigging districting. Harry Reid was a genius at keeping things from going to the floor. Basically, they're brilliant at obstructing. They're the party of no. They're the ones who obstruct anything positive. They're the ones who will use any kind of machinations to advance their agenda and to keep the people quiet in our place. And the people where they have the opportunity to fight back, I like to think that we do. And local elections up to the state level seem to reflect that.
Right.
Right? Therefore, again, we must be gerrymandered out of keep us quiet.
There you go.
Look at what Hillary Clinton just went on the attack against the Laugh Factory, I hear, because they have comedians who are denigrating her. This is what the left does.
Yep.
Silence opposition. It's the only way they can ever move ahead. And more of us, like we were talking about in the beginning of the show, Joe, you do this, John, you do this, I do this, we speak out, and we have got to keep speaking out, circumvent the media, let people know they're not alone, and keep whittling away at their power and taking it back.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you have this 900 state legislative seats, 13 Senate seats, 69 House seats, 12 governorships, what went wrong? It's because you're Democrats.
Yes.
Well, my thought is simply this. I notice what I see in the big picture here is a disconnect on both sides. The Democrats think that their policies are accepted, even though you could go down the line and you'll find almost all of them, a majority of the people don't like it, okay? The other side, and the Republicans, is their perception is we don't do anything and we let the other side implode. And so there is a disconnect. Or the idea that we have to go along and compromise. There's the disconnect of the establishment, that we have to compromise because government has to do something. That's the thing, is we have to do something. It's like, no, we didn't put you there to do something. We put you there to make sure that you don't do anything. That's kind of, you're there to ensure that our rights are protected, not your rights are protected.
Right. And that's exactly the conflict of vision between Republicans and Democrats. Less of you is better, and let us sort things out. And when we can't, let it percolate up from the individual to the family, to the town, to the county, to the state, to the federal level as a last resort. And they're the exact opposite. They want to have everything controlled at the top. Yes. And every single thing that they have attempted to control, you cited Obamacare, that's completely imploded, just one of a zillion examples. And this was one of the things that was so interesting in the Republican debate, was all the questions, the last one, the
business one.
The business one, the one before that, CNN, I don't remember which one it was, but every question was premised on the idea that here's a problem, how do you see government solving it?
Oh, right.
I don't think it was the recent one. It might have been the CNBC one.
Yeah. We were making the comparison when Jeb Bush was saying, we have to start over. He kept going down this bullet list. We got to repeal this and start over. Repeal this and start over. And I'm like, no, you need to repeal it and get out of the way. You need to repeal
get out
it
of the way. In stark contrast to, did you watch the Democrat debate?
No, I didn't. I was up in Big Bear. We don't have TV up there. So.
And I had spots. There was a lot of solar activity, and I just couldn't bear to watch.
All right, we're out of time, Karen. I want to give you just a moment here to promote your site.
Yes, find us, rageagainstthemedia.org. Find us on Facebook, Rage Against the Media, the group and the page. Speak up, speak out. Don't let them silence you. The truth is on our side, and if we don't speak up, they win. Don't let them win. All right. Okay, thanks so much, dear. Thanks for making it home in time. Yes, glad to be here. So okay, glad. We'll talk to you next week. God bless. Terrific. Okay, guys, we'll be back tomorrow. And as I said, we'll have Bob Cardoso from Robert Cardoso Live, and we're going to be talking about Obamacare tomorrow, one of the topics. I'm just getting a slew of stuff here that this landmark legislation that everybody's so hot to trot about. And what we're finding out is it's not that hot to trot.
There's a lot of things coming down the pipe here. So we'll be back tomorrow. God bless y'all. Don't forget to visit our website, theconservativesyndicate.net. We love you. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Strong.
Thanks for tuning in to this edition of the Conservative Syndicate, the globally syndicated, politically incorrect talk show that seeks to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state. We want to make you aware you can find and access all of our show archives at our website, theconservativesyndicate.net, as well as our broadcast stations and times. That's the conservativesyndicate.net. We so appreciate you taking time to tune in, and we so look forward to continuing to bring you the best and uncompromised talk radio available on the net today. And remember, folks, it doesn't matter how many times you get knocked down in life. It only matters how many times you get up. I'm John Matthews, signing off until next time, right here on the Conservative Syndicate. God bless you, and may God continue to bless America.